Hi everyone, welcome to Photography Chat, Season 2, Episode 19 with the Brothers Wright. We're going to get them on here in just a moment. So what's up JP? How you doing, man? Hey Avram? Hey Danielle? What's up Jeffrey? Can you guys hear me right now? That's awesome, Avram. I'm glad that I'm looking forward to hearing about the results with that. Things are well over here, Jeffrey. Thank you. Just settling into Vancouver. We're just waiting for the Brothers Wright to pop on here. I just sent them a invite to pop on with us. So there they are. All right, let's get them into the chat. Okay. They should be with us momentarily. There they are.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Good. It's acting a little weird.
Oh, what's it doing to you guys over there?
We lost your video, but that's okay. I can hear you.
Oh, that's weird. Oh. Okay. Let's see if we could get them back in here. Oh, weird. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties. How's everyone's week going?
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
There was like multiple
Beautiful.
invites on the screen blocking the screen.
Oh.
So I think we were trying to ask to join, and you're inviting us.
No worries. How's it going?
Really good. Let me grab my coffee.
I like your guys' background there. I'm not bad. Just getting settled into the West Coast again. It's a bit different than being out east, but it's a little brighter than usually when I'm broadcasting this. Yeah, when I was back in Toronto, it would be like 8 o'clock at night, not 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, you just moved to BC?
Yeah, I just moved back to Vancouver.
Nice. Is that where you grew up?
I grew up in the Kootenays, actually, in a very tiny mountain town called Kimberley, which, fun fact, is the highest elevated municipality in Canada, I believe. Cool. And also part of the atomic free zone, because it's at such an altitude that if atomic bombs were to go off, it's high enough that you wouldn't typically see any fallout, which was one of two reasons why my father moved us there when we were kids.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, because he was like a war buff, so he was like paranoid about that kind of stuff. And then they didn't want us to grow up to be hooligans in the grand city of Calgary. So we were just hooligans in a small town instead.
Yeah, I actually I got married in Banff.
Oh, shit.
Almost 2 years ago.
Congratulations. And Banff is beautiful. I love Banff.
Yeah, it's amazing. So luckily he got to do kind of a little mini moon there after, because it's Banff. Yeah, I went up to Jasper and it was beautiful. But since has not been able to really go on a full honeymoon because of,
Yeah, that thing that shall not be named, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get a chance to check out like Lake Louise or anything like that while you were up there too?
Yeah.
And that water is just something else.
It's amazing. Yeah. Emerald Lake is also a favorite of ours.
Nice.
Really cool.
Glacier National Park's really cool too. Checking all that out there.
Totally, yeah. We got to visit the Beers and Cameras group up in Calgary when we went too.
Nice.
So it was pretty cool to meet some of the local photographers in that city. It's a really beautiful city as well.
Yeah, Calgary's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm secretly a Calgary boy. I don't really tell people too often that I'm Albertan. I typically identify as British Columbian. But you guys, like, are you originally from California, like born and raised kind of thing, or?
Born in California and then raised mostly in Seattle.
Oh wow, okay.
So very
So
close.
yeah. So
As
part
teenagers,
of
we came back to SoCal, but
you could have
most of
been
the
part of
years,
Cascadia.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of our younger years stomping around the rainforests of Washington State and, making forts and stuff. But then we moved back to California, got into skateboarding.
Nice, as most people in California seem to.
And
Yeah,
photography.
surfing,
More
super
Yeah. So
cliche.
what got you guys into photography?
I would say mostly skateboarding, actually.
Yeah.
We started just taking photographs of each other skateboarding when we were teenagers with our dad's Olympus OM1.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Taking the film to the photo lab and getting the photos back and just kind of learning every roll we shot.
Mm-hmm.
And that led to us getting more passionate about it, and then we would follow all the different photographers that were shooting back then in Trans World and Thrasher and stuff.
All film back then.
All film, and a lot of stuff on chrome, black and white, all darkroom printed, and then put into the magazines. Very creative with like off-camera strobe, in an environment, on location, and like overpowering daylight and stuff like that. And so we got really into all the gear that goes with doing those type of challenging shoots, and that's kind of like where we got the bug.
Loved skateboarding, loved the skateboard magazines, and realized we were better at the photography part than the skateboarding and breaking my arm and stuff like that.
Yeah, skateboarding is it's something else for sure. I've had quite a few guests that have links to skateboardings in the chat here,
Yeah.
which has been a lot of fun. Like, because I mean, like that's what also kind of got me into photography too. Is like most of my favorite photographers are all skateboarders too.
Yeah. They were so good. It kind of goes well with analog. There's a lot, like with street skateboarding, there's a lot of like improvisation, finding cool locations, and that goes with photography.
Getting creative with the landscape.
Yeah, exactly. So it definitely still today suits people who are into photography or analog photography.
The whole skateboard.
They tend to be into both at the same time in that scene. It just attracts those type of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was wild, like hearing some of Grant's stories about his adventures with it, and then also he's actually the first guest that got me on to asking people if they have work they want to share, because he sent me like 500 megs of stuff in a compressed file, being like, "Hey, here's maybe you want some stuff to share on there." I was like, I never really thought about that before. But I was really familiar with all of his skate work, but he also had a ton of his like fine artwork in there.
Yeah.
And like, holy shit, that blew my mind. I was like, Grant, where have you been hiding this stuff, man? Like, it's wild.
Yeah, he's really talented. He was an inspiration of ours as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's such a chill dude too.
Totally.
Yeah, that was fun at the San Clemente thing, like in the before time, the film Padea.
Mm-hmm. That was really fun. Can't wait for another one of those.
Yeah, I can't either. Like I miss all of those like, photography, just adventures and meetups and the workshop weekends and stuff like that. Like just being able to connect with people that are like-minded. It's been like nice being able to do the Zooms and things like this, but it's still not quite the same as like being able to be there in person and go shooting together and stuff.
Yeah, giving people hugs. Not a lot of hugs going around right now.
I miss hugs. I mean, there's some people out there that are super glad that hugs aren't a thing anymore and probably won't be for a while. I'm not really one of those people. I definitely love hugs as long as they're consensual. The hugs have to be consensual. But yeah, I miss hugs. And then also like the handshaking. That's something that like throws me off because like it's been ingrained like for most of my life that when you meet someone new, you go to shake
You're like,
hands.
oh.
Yeah, now it's like and you kind of you're. It's funny when like you end up with another person that's all confused about it, and yeah, it's we're gonna have a lot of like new learning of how to be people again.
Yeah, and now like we're all vaccinated, so it's great, but it's still kind of like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Things are getting better. It's good.
It's like,
But
are
I think
you
it's gonna linger a
vaccinated?
bit. Yeah.
no, I am vaccinated, but are you comfortable with it still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, I mean, it made me feel weird now.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a weird time sort of easing back into being able to like just hang out with random people again and yeah, like just all the things I so took for granted in the before times, I look at it now, I'm like, holy, that was like so risky. Like,
Yeah.
what was I doing?
I know like a lot of photographers are looking forward to being able to do photo shoots without a mask on their face.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Just
Yeah, because like,
fogging up the screen and the camera.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
glasses fog and stuff and all that. Like yeah, and it'll be nice when that all changes. So how like what shifted you guys to decide to start making your own film?
Yeah, so like Brian said, we started out with skateboard photography when we were teenagers. We got a little bit into surf stuff because we had a lot of friends that surfed a lot, and then got really sucked into music and started
Okay.
doing like live, like one of our favorite bands is coming to town. We reach out to them in an email and be like, "Can we get photo passes and shoot you guys live?" And we're using a lot of the same skills that we learned for skate photography with like strobe lighting and setting up strobes in these tiny little venues in San Diego or Corona or whatever, because we were really into like the indie music, emo, hardcore scene at the time. And those were all like little dives places with really
Weak can lights
and stuff. So we'd bring our own Vivitar 285s and light that
strap
stuff.
them up into the lighting setup so that when we took a photo, it would just flash.
Yeah.
And, oh, nice.
We could shoot 100 speed film of a concert. It was great.
Yeah. And when we went to Palomar College down in San Diego as well for photography, and started learning more of the technical aspects of processing ourselves and getting into like alternative processes, and instant photography became a huge love of ours as we were moving into more music photography. And then eventually we moved to LA because that's where music photography is a thing, in like at least in California. San Diego, there's a lot of live stuff to shoot, but if you actually want a career in it, you got to be in Los Angeles or New York, or Nashville. But we did that for a while and started doing weddings, what we would call fine art weddings, because we shot only film.
Yeah. Well, a band that we had shot their touring stuff and their album cover, and became friends with them. The lead singer will ask us to shoot his wedding, and we said we don't do weddings, man. We're too cool for that, man. And he's like,
around 2000, weddings weren't as creative as they are now, as beautiful as they are.
They're actually on the verge of becoming creative at that point. It was kind of interesting. But he said, no, you don't get it. I want you to shoot like our BTS backstage photography, like all black and white, Neopan 1600 or the Acros, like just all black and white, and just do like whatever you want. Yeah. Don't shoot it like a wedding. And so we're like, okay, that's interesting. I'll probably still take a couple color photos of your family, but I figured your mom and dad might want color photographs of you. But it was really cool. It turned out great. And from there, people started approaching us because they liked the way it turned out. And we realized that there's actually a niche market back then, which is now a broad market for people who want like kind of handcrafted film photographs of their wedding. Because back then, everyone's into the new latest 5D and shooting digital and selective color, and some really tacky stuff was really popular
for weddings.
But at the same time, that's like when Jose Villa was emerging and Elizabeth Messina for really high-end weddings on film. And then there's this niche kind of like with that of like documentary style black and white photography. A photographer we knew pretty well from Florida, Rixies Valadares, was really great at that, shooting all of a Leica. He'd shoot like 8 rolls of film with a Leica to cover a whole wedding. And his work was amazing. It was like street photography.
He hand prints everything.
It was all hand printed. And so like we kind of started fitting into that community, which was really cool. Not a lot of people were looking for that at the time, but they were willing to pay a decent price for it so we could make a living. And then it kind of grew from there, and like the fine art photography for weddings became a really big thing. So we kind of rode that wave for a while, which was great to make money, and pretty fun. The clients that want that are really cool people. We became friends with a lot of them, but kind of burned out on weddings eventually because that's not where we originally wanted to do. Yeah. But long story short, we always were kind of drawing outside the lines. We like setting up, building our own darkroom, cross-processing slide film, alternative processes. We started way back in the day doing the pack films and like scanning the FP3000B negatives to get that kind of more gritty look out of it and then inverting it. And then also discovered bleaching off the backing of the 100C negatives so that you get a transparent negative you can scan. And stuff like that, which led us to, also experimenting with cameras and modifying lenses, building our own cameras, restoring like 100-year-old cameras, stuff like that. And we just kind of were always wanting to kind of hack things and find an alternative way to do things. Long story short, when shooting weddings and concerts, it was great when we could shoot Super 8 or 16 as well. We'd have someone shoot alongside us. And we were always blown away with how amazing and magical the tungsten balance motion picture film looked compared to shooting daylight balance film. And we didn't want to have to shoot digital. I just didn't like the workflow of digital. Yeah. And it takes a lot of work to make the digital try to match your film. And it still didn't quite click in my mind. Even if you make it look like film, it just doesn't have that nuance and serendipity of the film grain and just the way that the film cameras work, And we were shooting with cameras we made and modified lenses that wouldn't work with digital cameras. So that's when we decided we wanted to
try to shoot motion picture film at weddings and live shows.
Yeah, and we were fortunate to be in LA and Hollywood, so we figured out a way to do it where we could just go to the motion picture lab and they could process it, but it had to be at least like 30 feet long. So we had to get a bat for our Nikon F3 that would shoot 30-foot lengths.
Oh dang! So you had like one of those big, like sort of Gatling gun looking backs on.
Yeah, exactly. It was like this big. It had big wings on it.
Those things are wild.
Yeah. But we would spool down from 400-foot loads into these 33-foot cartridges, and we'd probably shoot like 4 or 5 of them, 6 of them at a wedding. Yeah. But meanwhile, we're carrying around a 22-pound camera. So we did that a lot. But then, because we are into like tearing things apart and trying to like figure out alternative processes, we're like, okay, there's got to be a way to do this without having to carry around this big ass camera. Yeah. Because motion picture labs won't process film that's shorter than that because it's a long linear process where they splice, like if you have a 400-foot can and a 400-foot can, they splice them end to end and they go through the process.
They go through loops.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The loops are longer than the length of a 36 exposure roll. And it's tension-based machine, so the wheels are turning, and as long as something's pulling on the end, it grips it and goes through the whole machine. All the spinning rollers will grab it. But if it's not consistently taut, and the tension's being pulled from end to end, and there's splices out of 2 spots, it'll rip off, and then you just ruined a bunch of motion pictures.
You wouldn't just ruin your 3 36 exposure rolls you dropped off. You'd also ruin, a scene from a commercial.
Everything.
Or Tarantino. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows what's being processed?
Does that machine, is it also stripping off the remjet while it's doing that, or processing?
Yeah, that's the first step in motion picture.
Yeah, you need a linear process to strip off the remjet accurately and without contaminating the film. Mm-hmm. Instead of a bath, it has to go through linearly, like kind of like a car wash. Mm-hmm. That way. That way it comes out the other side clean and not contaminated before processing. And that's one of the reasons their machines are
so when we first started trying to figure out how to not have to carry around like a 22-pound camera at weddings to be able to shoot in low light, that's when we started doing some hand processing of ECN2 film. Same stuff, but we just put it in like a little cassette, and then afterwards we'd have to deal with the remjet during processing, which we hated. Like, it was a complete mess. Got the results, but it would contaminate your chemistry, so you couldn't reuse it, which is inefficient, to say the least. And also that remjet layer, if it's not, doesn't go through the linear process where it's first softened and then sprayed off, which is where the jet part of remjet is. There's water jets that spray.
Oh, okay.
And because of the constant flow of water during that process, you don't get any of the carbon backing that's being removed embedded in the emulsion. When you do it by hand in a spool, you have literally the carbon backing
floating.
Since it's spun onto a reel, carbon backing is right against the emulsion, and it floats off right into it. Now, sometimes you won't get any embedded in your emulsion. Sometimes you will. If you get like a little fingerprint on your emulsion before you start processing, the oils will actually attract the remjet, and it'll get embedded in the emulsion. You'll have a remjet thumbprint in the middle of a frame. Stuff like that.
It sounds like you're speaking from experience of frustration.
Oh, yeah.
We did this for a while.
So that's where we started. And a lot of people still do that. They love getting the short ends and hand spooling them and doing it themselves. And it is kind of fun. But we're like, okay, we're doing this for work. We're shooting 30 to 40 rolls of this.
Yeah.
And no lab will handle it. We got to find a way to just get rid of the remjet. And so that was our first concept. Let's do it. Try to see if we can get rid of the remjet without ruining the film before shooting it.
Yeah.
The original idea wasn't to start a company.
No.
And to make it available for other people. It's just to make our workflow better. But 2-3 years into trying to figure out how to do just that, and tens of thousands of feet of film, messing around, building our own machine to do it linearly as opposed to by hand in the dark with a sponge, which didn't work.
Yeah.
We ended up figuring out how to do it. And we're like, okay, great. I can make a lot more than 30 rolls of film now, because we actually built a machine that would do it way more efficiently and cleanly, but also we'd probably make around 300 rolls of film at a time in order to do that. And now we have this giant machine just for us to make our own film. We decided, okay, we had other people commenting on our work too.
Yeah.
We were part of a big film photographer Facebook group where we met a lot of great other photographers, and we shared our work, especially at these low-lit receptions. Mostly there were wedding photographers in there, but all sorts of, I think the group's still alive. I've kind of stepped back from Facebook over the last 5 years. But tons of cool work was shared there, but we would share stuff with people like, how did you get great colors in such low light at these receptions? Like, usually you would shoot the centerpieces and you'd have to have like a strobe or something if you're going to shoot film, or get a DSLR and pump it up to 6400
or video light,
12,800 ISO, or video light. And if you didn't do that, you would get all these muted colors. The greens would come out really yellow. The blues just wouldn't even show up.
Yeah.
But with tungsten balanced film, now you can see everything. The baby blue ribbon going through the centerpiece or whatever. Yeah. And so other people were interested too. We're like, okay, let's do this. Let's make a film, not just for us, but for other people. And the first time we actually had other people besides us try it out after we created our process to remove the remjet prior to shooting was in Las Vegas for the film show with Ryan Muirhead, Tanya Lippert, who else was involved? Jan Schultz.
There's a bunch of people.
A lot of cool.
Our
first testers were pretty fun.
Yeah, it was really good. You can find.
And I think Ryan's in the chat here too. Yeah, talk about me, he says.
Hi, Ryan.
And Kodak says, love the hat.
Ryan Muirhead is one of the most amazing human beings and photographers that will ever take photos of your daughter not clothed.
When she's an adult.
Obviously adult and consensual. No, Ryan Muirhead is an amazing person.
All right.
He wasn't a wedding photographer, but he has a ton of wedding photographer friends. His work is really dynamic and beautiful.
Yeah, he is.
I hadn't heard of him before, but I gave him a follow, and I'll check out his work afterwards.
It's great.
Yeah, he's a great human being. Hey, Ashley Kellerman. And all kinds of friends in here. So where were we?
At that point, we did our first beta run or alpha run of our remjet removed film for people to shoot, which we ended up calling CineStill. And it just was great. Everyone loved it. There was obviously some glitches in the first couple rounds. had to learn how to handle it better. Eventually, we stopped spooling it by hand ourselves in the darkroom and started actually spooling it professionally in a major push. We partner with a bunch of different companies throughout the world who make films, such as ADOX Film in Germany was our first connection. They were able to help us professionally spool the film. They're also our distributor in Germany. So everything just kind of happened really. That was around 2013, and everything really kind of snowballed from there. And now we're a film manufacturing company.
That's wild.
So yeah, it's one of those things it makes sense because it's our passion, but it wasn't what we expected to be doing at this point. We thought we'd be, traveling the world with rock stars or shooting at whoever behind the scenes at Bonnaroo or something.
But yeah, it's been a great journey, and we have a great crew and a great staff, and it's just it's fallen on our laps, and we have this really awesome kind of living organism that's our company that does really cool things and tries to contribute to keep analog photography alive and keep it exciting
and accessible.
I guess in a way you guys are traveling around the world with rock stars and stuff, because how much CineStill film is out there being shot at live shows and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's so cool. Like on our Instagram account, our Instagram account is basically where we get to show everyone our portfolio, which isn't our photography, it's our film. It's the amazing things that other people are doing on this film, as opposed to us, which is kind of a flip. We wanted to make CineStill film for us, to make our workflow better, to get the images we wanted to get. And now there's tens of thousands of people doing that around the world too. So it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I have to say, I love your guys' film. I've used a ton of it. I think I still have a couple rolls of 800 chilling in the fridge right now. I had a kind of happy accident moment with it last summer. I was doing a shoot with my friend Mara, and it was like a really interesting idea that she had where she was draping this sort of like red translucent cloth between the two of us, and then she would sort of pull it off of me, and like I'd sort of be shooting her in this sort of like red cloth tunnel kind of thing. But I was when I set my strobes up, I was testing them at 400 and forgot to change it for 800 to work with the CineStill 800, and so I overexposed the heck out of the shots, but it ended up giving it this sort of like really sort of dreamy, like ethereal look through the red fabric, because like parts of it were blown out, but it just, the film's never let me down. But I'm kind of curious. I want to ask you guys this question: 800 versus 50. Where do you guys land on that one? Because it seems like there seems to be more popularity towards the 800 in the general populace out there, but I have to say I've kind of really dug 50 a lot more.
There's a 4-stop difference between them.
Yeah.
One's daylight balanced, one's tungsten balanced. It's kind of like it's just a different tool that wasn't really in existence. There wasn't a 50 speed daylight balanced film, so it made sense for it to come into the market. Give people an opportunity to shoot cameras with slower shutter speeds, but still shoot their 2.8 lens wide open in broad daylight, which is like you can't do that with a 100 speed film.
Not with a Hasselblad 500 CM or you can't do that 800 speed. No way.
No, you have to stop down. But people who love bokeh, medium format and stuff, it's good for that. So that is very useful, and it's also a beautiful film itself. With abundant light, it's pretty easy to shoot. With less light, it becomes a little more difficult. People who love shooting on tripods, though, it's not a problem at all. Yeah. It's just a totally different tool.
Yeah.
And people love the results. You can look at the Instagram account for CineStill Film, and there's a lot of 800T there and a lot of 50D there too. And sometimes it's kind of hard to distinguish which film it's shot on initially because of the way people use it and stuff. It's just on Instagram. And when you get a print back or a scan and you look at it full resolution, it's pretty clear how fine-grained the 50D is. Yeah. But it's just
different tool.
Interesting to hear that you really love it, because you're right. People don't talk about it as much. People don't shoot it as much. It's about a third of what 800T sells.
Popularity-wise.
But I think the people who do shoot it love it.
Ryan says, I've heard some people like your film the most when it's way past due and expired. Thoughts?
So, as I said before, Ryan is one of our first ever testers.
Yeah.
So we love his work, so we give him film all the time. But he likes to sit on it and let it expire and give it some crazy looks. Because
he finally shot his last alpha, beta test roll from back in 2012. So now he's asking us if we could age some more film for him.
Check out his work. You'll see some stuff that has like weird like fogging on it and stuff. Probably CineStill.
Probably old CineStill.
Old CineStill they left under under your bed or something, Ryan.
yeah. We tell him go ahead and shoot it, but we're not going to encourage you to advertise to the world that's what our film looks like.
So yeah, that's one of the things about CineStill that is actually interesting as well. Since it's motion picture film is designed for performance as opposed to shelf life. You're supposed to shoot it and process it as quickly as possible for best results.
Which is why it has amazing shadow detail and great dynamics and great color fidelity, because it's meant to be, coated and slit and perforated and put in a can and go to a production, and they're going to finish that production within a couple months, right? And then it's going to go straight to the lab and not sit on the shelf. And the lab's going to process it that day.
And
so it's not meant to sit.
Whereas something like Portrait 400, I've shot old Portrait, even before Portrait 400, Portrait NC and stuff that's like 8 years expired. And it looks great. I mean, definitely when you hold the negatives up, you're like, okay, those are a little fogged, but they scan really even. They have their consumer films. Those are professional films, but
they're made for
generally speaking, the still photographer tends to buy a bunch of film and sit on it for a while. So they're designed to have a longer shelf life just at room temperature. Whereas the motion picture stuff, you sit on that stuff past expiration, it starts looking like different.
Yeah, Ryan's really disappointed because we've improved our whole manufacturing process so that even when it does age, it doesn't look that way anymore.
Yeah.
So he's having a hard time replicating it any longer because we've just made things improved when it comes to like the way the film is manufactured. Yeah. It's less of us hacking film anymore and more of us making film in cooperation with Kodak. So we don't have the problem with aging really much anymore. A, because when it starts to age, it ages more or less similarly to other films without kind of the weird artifacts. And B, because CineStill we supply the demand. People don't have to hoard it because we're constantly making it. And we don't make too much. So we rarely have issues with film sitting in a fridge too long or on a shelf too long, unless it's, randomly fell in your fridge and you forgot it was there. But it usually holds up pretty well now. So.
I'm terrible with hoarding it because I remember when production wasn't as rapid. So whenever it would come up at the camera store, it'd be like, bye money, I'm buying a CineStill.
Yeah. People would stock up for like 6 months because they don't know when it's coming back in stock. Yeah. Now, if it's out of stock, it's going to be back in stock within a month or two. But that's part of it is we want fresh film on the market. Part of it is nowadays also challenges with supply chains with COVID.
Yeah, slow some stuff down.
But we're producing regularly. So.
And Fear and Loathing says shooting 50D at night is still incredible.
It is, yeah. You have to use a tripod, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
And we've got Matt from Kodak and Alan from Leica joined us. Welcome, guys.
Hey, guys.
Two other great human beings that we love.
I love both of those guys so much, and I can't wait to see them in the new world at some point.
In real life, yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, I had all these trips planned to go to Rochester and just do some exploring and go bug Matt at the factory there, and also Boston. I miss that place.
Yeah, you got to check out Parcel 5A. That place is going off.
What's that?
It's downtown Rochester.
It's this really cool park.
Yeah. There used to be a pit in it.
Okay.
And some guy fell in the pit, but now it's a park.
Yeah. Is that how it goes?
It's a little bit of an inside joke.
Okay.
Little Parks and Rec.
It's a really cool
reference there with Leslie Knopes.
Okay. Yeah.
Rochester's an amazing city with a lot of amazing people. We go out there once, usually 1 to 3 months. Sometimes like back-to-back months. Sometimes we take a couple months off, especially in the winter. I don't do so well in snowstorms.
That's fair. It
We're
does
used
get
to the
quite
California
snowy there.
weather.
Yeah, because like
Um,
the Rochester weather would be similar to Toronto, and I did not like the Toronto winters very much
Oh
at
yeah,
all.
probably very similar,
Very similar.
like effect and everything.
Yeah, it was great because like the Kodak factory was like if I could just go across the water, it was really only like I think 45 minutes from my house.
Mhm.
But you know you can't. You got to do the big loop round, so it's like a 2.5 hour drive.
well, next time you're going to go out there, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We might be out there.
There's a chance we'll be there, too.
That'd be awesome. I mean, I would. There's a higher probability that I'll probably end up in LA first because there's a lot of people that I'd like to go
Cool.
visit down there once the border opens up. That's the
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been following up with that. It should be soon, I hope.
They were talking June, now maybe July. I don't know. It depends on like how our vaccination stuff goes up here.
Totally up
'Cause,
to Canada for sure.
yeah, we're kind of screwing the pooch right now. So
We did too. Everyone did. It was hard to.
It's amazing what a change in management does, though. Like, look at how well you guys are doing now.
It's seriously.
It's been a roller coaster.
The fact that I haven't heard much from my president is a good thing.
Yeah.
No one's talking about him. That's good.
Exactly. You don't want to hear from the guy.
You don't
Like,
want people talking about him in the news because the news is never good.
No, it's not. Like, it's I don't know. The shit that I'm finding hilarious right now, though, like, you know, just to be political for a moment, is how the Republicans are now trying to say that the insurrection was nothing but a tour.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know
you know,
anything about that.
there was nothing bad happened. It just, you know, if the media hadn't have blown it up, people would just think it was like another tour. And this is like, okay, I don't know what dimension you go to tours in, but definitely not a tour.
Wow, interesting.
So I'm going to ask it because I know there's a ton of people on here listening right now that are wanting to know when this is happening, but large format CineStill.
Well,
we
made some.
We're gonna do what we usually do.
Yeah.
Is we're gonna string you all along a little bit and say we've made some. We're gonna make some more. It's just been a few years since we've made some more.
Yeah.
So I hate to do that again, but we are gonna make some more.
Yeah, very soon.
But it's more soon than it would have been. We don't have a date or anything like that. Don't be holding your breath. I'm not gonna bait you guys and get the internet all riled up that there's some magical new thing coming out. But we do release new things, right? We have new things that do come out, and they are going to come out. But we're not going to put our foot in our mouth and promise something that
we can't.
Well, we need to make sure that we stay ahead of it on the products that people are relying on. Before, and also once we do provide it and people start relying on it, we need to be able to
keep it
sustain that because people will fall in love with it, plan shoots, and then they can't get more.
Yeah.
So we're doing it responsibly, and after this last year. It honestly may have happened if it wasn't for this last year, but it's going to happen soon.
And Stephanie here, who I know is like one of the probably loudest voices demanding for this, asks, where the large format at in the XX?
It is a possibility that I would actually expect to see. That's something also that we get requested a lot, and it's a similar situation where
I would love to see.
There's a lot that goes into making a new product.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not brand new. The emulsion already exists, but a lot goes into making it work correctly in that format and spooling it with paper backing. It's the film itself is amazing. So when you magnify how much larger the format is with medium format like 6x7 or even 645. It's just extra amazing. Yeah.
Well, no. So she's asking large format. So
large format,
double X and 4.5 in.
Yes, you're gonna see double X in. We're gonna keep producing more of it. We're not gonna produce 50D as our first large format or double X. It's gonna be 800. It's gonna be 800T because that's the #1 seller. Okay. It's the one people want the most. But when we do one, you should expect the other to follow. Yeah. Right?
That's fair.
So we don't want to go backwards. We want to keep pressing forward and making more options.
Yeah, totally.
So if you can think of it, we're probably already thinking about it too.
Yeah.
That's fair. So I'm curious, 50D versus double X. What's the volume like on those ones? Like, you know,
I
which
would
one's
have
more
to look at
popular of those two?
numbers.
Pretty close.
Pretty close?
People love the BWX double X. It's a really beautiful emulsion. It's Tri-X, but with tighter grain.
If you want to shoot
with just the same amount of flexibility, very
Yeah,
similar
I was bugging
characteristics. It's beautiful.
I was bugging Matt about that on the episode I had with him, and I asked him if he could get an answer for the alchemy of like why double X is so beautiful, and he got the answer, but he's not allowed to share it.
Oh, okay.
there's a little there's some sneaky stuff about it that he
Yeah,
doesn't
like
tell people.
he said it's really amazing, but I can't tell you, and I was just like, God damn it! Like,
You're not getting anything out of us either.
well, that's fair. I wouldn't expect it, but like after like seeing where this stuff is made, like at the factory, um, it's cool to understand like where it comes from, and it's also just wild how these like dudes are just basically doing like alchemy in the dark and like making crystals out of like all these chemicals and stuff, and these like big, you tanks and the like built into the flooring there. Like it was just wild to see how that process works.
Yep, there's a reason why we love Kodak.
Yeah, Kodak said they
They're
loved your
amazing.
hat earlier there, which that's a fantastic hat. So outside of like CineStill and your photography stuff, like what other projects have you guys been working on? Do you have anything else that's been keeping you busy, or?
It's pretty much full-time CineStill these days, which is good. We're located here in Hollywood, and then we also have a small location out in Rochester. Our team has grown over the last 2 years into what we're really proud of, which is providing a lot more. We have a whole team now. Like when we first started, it was me and Brian doing as much as we could within our limited capacity, and learning how all this stuff works, and super fun and creative. But now we have a customer support team. We have people handling all of the online store stuff, and we're continuing to add more products there, such as like our Jobo starter kits that make so you can get like started with one kit at a price that is way cheaper than anywhere else you go. Start processing your own film, and like we're always trying to come up with stuff to make it more accessible, and we wouldn't be able to do that without the team that we have growing here. We moved into a new location right before COVID hit, so not very many people have seen it yet, but we're really proud of it. That's where we are right now.
Oh, nice.
Really cool brick building in Central Hollywood. Got a shooting space, and we got a lot planned. But besides that, I don't know. I ride motorcycles. Anything to take my mind off of work, because I can't do it 7 days a week.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then still shooting some photography, but not nearly as much as we used to. When you're not getting paid to do it, you don't have to shoot as much.
Yeah.
And
that's fair.
Mostly I do a lot more travel work now. Like whenever I'm going out of town, I bring a camera. And that's like an excuse to go out and shoot, because I no longer have like engagement photos or music concerts that I'm shooting, which is kind of refreshing. It's nice to be able to go see music and not feel like you got to hustle a bit and try to like get some photos for the portfolio. But still, we'll bring our cameras out to a live show when they come back soon.
Yeah.
Yes, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. And still, I mean, photography is our life. Yeah. Everything we do kind of revolves around it in one way or another. Now it's based on the manufacturing side, but still creating images is what we love to do.
Well, you're introducing it to so many more people too, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's cool. Like we love creating work to share with people in photography. I mean, you can look at our account, and that's all photos that we've taken. But then it's even more exciting to go over to this. Hey, what's up? You go over to the CineStill Film account, and you'll see photos that were unable to be taken by other people, but we did something to help make that happen. And in a way that makes me more proud to see like the diversity within our audience and like the film family of all these different walks of life, different cultural perspectives and creative perspectives, all using this product that we've made available to them, and they're loving it. They're creating unique work that I could have never imagined. And if I just kept our like trade secret to ourselves and become like the photographers that had this special magical way to get this look, but we're not telling you, we'd probably succeed. And I don't know if it would even help us succeed, but we would succeed. But we'd be not helping anyone else.
Yeah.
And only photos you'd ever see made that way would be made by us.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty limited compared to what's amazing out there right now. All the amazing work we see every day. It's hard for our social media team to even pick images to feature.
So many good images out there.
So many good images. It's like, if we featured it at all, I guess that's what hashtags are for. Just go look up the hashtags. But if we featured it at all, it would be just a full-time job for a whole team of people just posting. It's just amazing the work out there, and that's really rewarding for us, because a lot of hard work running a company and employing other people and trying to be a good employer, and be responsible for a industry and community that we love and want to flourish.
Mm-hmm.
So we do the best we can. We're always listening to people's feedback. Keep requesting new products, because that helps us make decisions on where to put our efforts, because we are limited. But we're also agile, because we're small.
Mm-hmm.
So we can focus on something and accomplish it rather well and rather quickly. And we have a lot of help. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. There's great companies still out there, some old, some new, that we work with, and the whole ecosystem of film is surviving and thriving. And
yeah,
I'm proud of that as well. So I think we have a lot of reward not shooting and focusing more on this. More reward than if I was going to just have this awesome, cool portfolio of all this cool music photography that I've shot and album covers. Like that,
great.
That was the dream. But I think I'm living in a better dream.
Yeah, and I mean, arguably probably more successful than having something that would be more focused is just that, like,
Mm-hmm.
being able to, or is it whenever it rains at night, I think of you, CineStill Film, Jeffrey says. I mean, there's some dreamy stuff with that. Film Gaze asked, it was off-topic question, but who created the CineStill box logo?
The packaging, you mean?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that would be me and Brian.
Yeah.
I think the name was originally my brainchild.
Yeah.
And Brian made the original graphic for the design, and then we kind of worked together developing it. We're visual arts creative nerds, so we did a lot in Illustrator. Both of us had graphic design jobs at certain points in our early 20s. We're very hands-on from the beginning with everything. Now a lot of the graphic design that you'll see us release in new products, packaging, and stuff like that, we have other people helping us, which is awesome.
Great.
But yeah, the original logo was, I think, mostly Brian graphically.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
if you guys ever need a large format tester, I definitely would volunteer. I think Stephanie would too.
You've been getting deep into the large format these days.
Yeah, it's addictive. Kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like it started with 4x5, and 8x10 will be the next leap here soon.
Well, I'll have our outreach add you to a list of people.
Yeah.
That should be testing when we have a
That'd
product
be dope. I would be happy to do that. Yeah. And you got Brandy here from Texas says I volunteer as a black and white film tester too.
Right. So okay. No, literally, email us at community@cinestillfilm.com and say that, and we'll see what we can do.
Definitely.
I'm not gonna remember this right now though, so
that's fine. Yeah. They'll put it out there. I did have a question too before when you were talking about the F3 with like the Gatling gun attachment.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever just like set it to constant and just like see what it'd be like to just fire that thing off just with the whole?
There's 3 constant settings on that motor drive.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact speeds, but like one was slower, like maybe a half second, another one was like maybe an eighth of a second. The other, maybe 8 seconds was fast. Yeah, 8 frames per second. Sorry.
Was the fastest.
I think was the fastest. But there's 3 settings. I can't remember exactly. 1 second, half second. I don't know. The point is, you could do like time-lapse stuff with it. Mm-hmm. It was pretty cool. We did a little bit of that. Kind of runs out fast, though, when you start trying to create motion with it, because 33 feet is not that much runtime.
We did do our
250 exposures, 24 frames a second. That's
yeah, that doesn't
10 seconds?
Yeah. It's fun. It's basically the format CineScope.
Yeah, CineScope.
Which is the biggest 35 millimeter format for motion. Yeah. Which is exactly the same as still.
That's cool.
Oh, 8 perf.
We did stop motion with some 33-foot lengths of 800T.
For the Indiegogo video.
Our Indiegogo video for 120. And that turned out really cool. We actually did stop motion. We had it processed with PhotoChem. And they did a print relief. So we had projectable print and then scan that. And it looks really cool. I want to do another video like that. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
That'd be wild. I've only ever seen the F3. I've never seen it actually in action, but just behind glass, and it just it looks kind of immense. I always kind of pictured what that would have been like when I had an F3 before I sold it. So that's wild. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I think we have some pictures of it in our Instagram. If you scroll way back,
way down, yeah.
On our Instagram profile, if you scroll way back to 2013, 2014, 2015, we have some cool pictures of the camera in action.
Nice. Oh, and then Dave just joined us here, and I just recently saw his YouTube video he shared of shooting the CineStill 4x5.
I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to watch that tonight.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, Dave's also another fantastic film human out there who I miss immensely. It's quite
we have the best community.
I would have to completely agree with that. The people that I've been lucky to meet through this photographic community have just really blown me away over the last few years. Just from all of them too. I probably more heavy in the instant film community, through the Instant Film Society and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then when I went to the Film Padea in San Clemente, that just opened up a whole bunch more of the community to me as well. I've met so many rad people there, and just how welcoming and willing to share everyone has just been. It's kind of like a restoring faith in humanity kind of moment. Much like you guys were saying, where it's you had this opportunity where it's you could have kept this process to yourselves and just hoarded this amazingness for you guys, but instead, you took the opportunity to share it with everyone else. Yeah,
the sharing of information, collaboration, learning from each other, it's awesome. It's a really good community. I mean, the Leica community is cool too. Fuji Film X camera is pretty cool. But
I think we have the best community.
We got the best community for sure. a lot of great people.
It's not that we're better or our passion is better than any others, but I think we just attract very interesting people who are diverse and all have different motives and reasons for doing what they do. And it's
everything from the highly technical photographer doing ultra large format or crazy alternative processes down to the people who just love a point and shoot with some film in it.
Yeah.
And we all just support each other and get along, and I don't see much elitism or anything like that. Pretty stoked on the community and how it continues to grow. And also on the manufacturing side and the retailer side, the business side of the film industry. It's awesome. Lots of great people.
I've only had the privilege to meet a couple, but they've all been really awesome.
Yeah.
Matt's great, and Michael Bain from Ilford is...
he's awesome.
He's such a chill dude.
He is so cool.
Yeah, I really... I admire that guy a lot, and his work is fantastic when he does share some stuff every now and then.
I can't wait until he makes it back out to LA and we can have a beer with him again.
Yeah,
If you hear this, Michael, get out here. Let's
he
have a
may.
beer.
I know I know he checks things out every once in a while, and who knows, maybe he's like checking things out on the podcast. Um, I'm curious though, since I've got you guys on here, um, the gas stations at night on CineStill stereotype. How do you guys feel
That's
about
a
that?
great word for it, stereotype.
I don't know where it came from. Honestly, I mean, it looks dope.
People do
So-
shoot them. They do.
We definitely didn't design the film to shoot gas stations.
No. And the stereotype is that that's all it's good for. That's the inaccurate stereotype. But the reality is, really small drop in the ocean of photos are taking that. It's just, it looks so damn good, people share it.
Yeah, they stand out.
So it's people just taking the same photo from different perspectives, with different creative eye. But people always recognize that the content is the same in that photo, and it succeeds on getting likes.
Yeah, it's just like the old cars and things like that too. Like it's just like, why do those get so many likes? Like I've had a few creative friends get like really supremely bummed out when they've posted some like really great photo, but it doesn't get as much love as like, some of the more stereotypical photos.
I have
that
a
everyone
theory about
adores.
that, is people who shoot film are very nostalgic, and we like capturing things on film, moments, and archiving them on film because they're it's like we're very nostalgic, and we don't want to forget things, especially things that are going to go away, like our children growing up, or a place you travel to, or even just random street photos. We're very nostalgic.
Or maybe,
and nostalgic people tend to shoot film.
Maybe petrol stations that sell fossil fuels.
Yeah, maybe we're just getting preemptively nostalgic about gasoline.
The changing world around us.
Yeah, that could be true.
It could be subconscious.
But it's most likely probably the light at gas stations is pretty dope.
Yeah, it's just the light, the abundant light.
And the signs
mixture,
and the glowing signs, yeah.
Yeah, that does kind of turn out. Like I think my favorite CineStill moments are nice daylight with the 50D. The very first roll of 50D I ever shot was in Denton, Texas, and that sunlight that you get sort of midday with that stuff is just like, I took some pictures of friends at Policon, and they almost looked angelic, the way that the light was like hitting them and the way it just sort of the 50D rendered that. It was just so good.
Yeah, I love the 50D. I mean, before CineStill, I think what were our favorite stocks to shoot was probably Portra 400, Fuji 400H, RIP, don't want to focus on that,
Yeah.
and Ektar. And Ektar, because it's extremely fine grain, you can shoot it in really bright light and keep your aperture wide open. But it's also really punchy and contrasty.
A lot of people sleep on Ektar.
Huh?
A lot of people sleep on Ektar.
I know, it's a beautiful film.
If you have a camera that shoots lower contrast images because it's old lens or something,
Yeah.
throw some Ektar in it. It compensates.
Yes, it does.
That's why I think it's a great tool to have.
Nice.
When you shoot vintage lenses and things like that.
Uncoated lenses.
Yeah, uncoated. If you're like, my photos are kind of just lackluster because of this old camera, it'll make it luster.
Give it a punch.
It's going to give a lot of punch. Where if you have a super, super sharp multi-coated lens that gives you vibrant colors on any film, you throw Ektar in it, it's like,
it can be much sometimes.
You know that might be what you're going for.
Yeah. We used to shoot Ektar a lot for portraits, but using specifically like uncoated vintage lenses, and it looked great. 50D, on the other hand, is much more. It leans much more towards having more neutral color palette all the way across the board, whether it's portraits or landscapes. It's not going to be desaturated, but it's going to be extremely balanced from highlight to shadow.
Neutral, yeah.
Yeah, like so if you have like really hard light coming in, it'll be really rich color, but it won't get garish and overly saturated like crayon reds and yellows.
Yeah. I like how it does the blues and greens on it.
That's what I love about the 50D. Is it's
different.
It's very different from any other color film in its speed bracket.
Yeah, I haven't come across anything else that behaves quite like it.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely in a league of its own there. I do also like how Ektar does blues and greens, like the way they pop in that
I
is
like
just
that too.
that's a magical one. Like I shot a roll of it at Lake Mead,
Yeah.
and the way that the water came out on that is just like
Yeah.
I shot some stuff on 35 mil in Portra, and I was like I hated it after I saw the Ektar stuff. I was like, this is better. I like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't sleep on the Actar. Give it a try. Figure out what you like it for.
Yeah.
Waste some film, and then use it the way you like it. We need to
Yeah,
keep all these tools around. Like shoot every different type.
Mhm.
yeah, definitely. Like it's nice that you know, most film manufacturers are committing to continue making film.
Yeah.
We won't mention the green box, but you know, most film companies seem to be like really stoked about this resurgence of film.
Mhm.
But I was curious on your guys' thoughts of, okay, so film production is something that's fairly healthy right now. Like there's lots of commitment from larger manufacturers, lots of boutique shops like you guys,
Mhm.
and like Ferrania and Filmography and things like that that are also making other films. But thoughts on the fact that no one's really making new cameras outside of like point and shoots and reusables and disposables.
I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I think this discussion is going to continue for a few more decades because there's just so many cameras out there. Well, there's a lot.
I have
There-
an
there-
F3
there-
from the 1950s that
Yeah,
performs or not F3, sorry, M3
M3. Yeah.
from the 1950s that just performs beautifully.
Yeah, there's just so many cameras out there that work. And actually, to rewind a little bit, less people were shooting film 10 years ago. That's a good thing. We're growing. But there were so many cameras back then, and so little people shooting film that like you could get these cameras for super cheap. Or 15 years ago.
Dirt cheap.
Like you could get. I don't even want to talk about the prices. But some of my favorite cameras that I'm glad I bought them when they were affordable. Like it's hard to recommend them to people now because they're relatively more expensive. They're still way cheaper than a nice digital camera, but that's because the demand has gone up. But there's still so many cameras out there that are functioning well.
Mhm.
But eventually they will break. Eventually they won't have parts to repair them.
And
So
eventually there'll be so many of us film photographers out there.
That's what I was going to say.
We need more cameras.
As the trend continues to grow and there's more people wanting cameras because more people are shooting film and more people are wearing out cameras, yes, this discussion will be happening. Who knows when, but I picture in a few decades. The good news is by then there's enough people shooting film, enough people willing to buy these cameras, and enough demand for it because there's less cameras available. It will be produced in a larger volume.
Yeah.
Which means that this new camera that can be made more affordable as well. So it's just not something that we need to solve today or can solve today.
But we should be
But
working
it's
towards
something
it.
it's something that will have to be solved eventually. But if trends continue, which they should,
Shouldn't be a problem.
it should be easier
Should be
in the
awesome.
future, especially with technology improving, manufacturing technology. I mean, people are already making 3D printed cameras. Dora Goodman,
Yeah,
for example.
well, so they're making like the camera bodies and things like that, but it's still
Shutters are different.
reliant on shutters and all of that, which was something that Philip mentioned when he was on the show with me. He's like, it's not necessarily the cameras are the problem; it's more the shutters are the problem. 'Cause
Well,
there's
people are still
not,
making lenses with shutters in them.
yeah,
But if you want a focal plane shutter, that's when it becomes more costly to manufacture and complicated. Or if you want to make a new point and shoot camera, for instance, it's all integrated in one. That becomes more complicated.
Stephanie just said that we could just all shoot pinhole.
yeah.
But that's
Well,
actually a good point. Like no matter what happens,
There is
like
always a way.
you can build your own camera.
Yeah.
It won't be as impressive as like an F3 or M6 Leica. But yeah, we can all capture as long as the materials are available that are light sensitive. You can make images. You can make photography. And then someone else.
Yeah, Stanley has a good
Stanley,
point here where
yeah.
it's like what's more scary is that it's hard to get them serviced. And he's right. Like
Yep.
my F5, this is my ride and die. I love this camera. It's traveled all over the place with me, but I've made peace with the fact that there's going to be a day and probably the not so distant future that it'll just die. because of all the
Especially,
electronics.
yeah, the electronics are the trickiest part.
Yeah,
The
and
older cameras that are fully mechanical, like not even requiring a light meter, those will always, someone's going to be able to work on those. Any type of person with an engineering technical background can figure out, oh, okay, yeah, no, this just needs to be lubricated, or we just need to get a replacement gear, especially with 3D printers.
And new
Yeah.
You
3D
can
printing,
replace parts
and new 3D printing materials as well
that are much more durable.
that are durable and able to do more fine detail. You'll be able to create more parts that 10 years ago you thought, oh, how are we ever going to make more of these replacement parts? People are starting to do it already.
Yeah. Camera Rescue, if anybody knows who they are, they're awesome. They're trying to keep alive the film repair technicians, and they're training people how to repair cameras over in Europe.
Yeah.
They're awesome. And
that's
I think
great.
there's I'm sure other people doing that, but that's really important.
And there's Retro Photo York
Yeah.
in New York, who also has like a huge supply of new old stock of parts.
Yep.
So if you have a broken camera, check out them or Camera Rescue. Alan says Leica is still making film cameras, but they can't fix the light meter in the M6 if it goes out because one of the parts is no longer made.
That's reality.
Yeah, that's
Nobody
why
needs a light meter.
that's why I shoot M3.
Yeah, well, I think that just like when I save up after the 8x10 to buy my first Leica, it's not going to be an M6 now.
Aw.
Maybe I'll go for like an M4 or something. I do have to say, like,
Yeah.
I recently picked up a Zorky S off of someone, and I've never wanted a Leica more before because it's just
Our first,
what's it? Go ahead.
our first Leica camera was a Bessa R3, and
Oh, nice.
it just like at first we got it, we're like, this is so cool, and then eventually we upgraded to an actual Leica. Oh my gosh.
M2, yeah.
If you like shooting on any rangefinder, pick up a Leica, man. Or actually, honestly, the Mamiya 6 is a beautiful rangefinder as well.
It'll be the next step for sure. Like the Zorky is really sort of fueled the bug, and then I've also been fucking around with this Texas Leica recently. I got a GW690.
Those are cool.
It is such a beast.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's a big boy, but it's cool. But it also like makes my wallet cry every time I put a roll into it because it's just like only 8 photos, really? Like that's it?
But those 8 photos are going to be amazing.
As long as I
you're
get the
supporting
focus
film.
and well, exactly. That's
Shoot
the way
more
I look
film.
at it. Well, exactly. Shoot more film because that means that this whole ecosystem stays alive. Like, shoot more film, support your local labs.
Yeah.
Do what you can so that we can keep shooting this. Like, it's interesting when I hear people complain about film prices, or like my favorite is like whenever people bitch about Polaroid, and it's just like, if you don't like it, then just don't do it. Go buy a digital camera. Then you don't have to have costs anymore per se.
Don't
You
worry,
just got
don't
to
worry
spend a
about
lot more.
costs. They're going to go up. They're going to go down. That happens. But with inflation, film costs are cheaper than they were in the 90s, man.
That doesn't surprise me, honestly.
No.
I mean, some film is more expensive. Some film. But overall, film is cheaper.
I do miss the days when FP100C and 3000B was like $9.
Oh, dude, don't.
90 cents a photo for that beautiful.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Large format photography, basically.
But
like, that's why I hate Fuji. I have a deep-seated hatred towards Fuji, and it is all because of pack film.
I mean, it's tough.
We love pack film.
It's
I don't
tough.
use the H word, but yeah.
Yeah, I only use it for that. That's where it's reserved for.
It's been a tough go for film, man.
I still secretly hope that the pack film stuff is going to come back in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Super Sense has done a pretty good job with the one instant. Like, it's nothing like what the original pack film will ever be, but it's an option. And
it's a way to use the cameras, but it's not a pack. A pack implies there's more than one sheet.
Yeah, which is why they call it the one
I'm
instant.
not knocking them. They need to do what they need to do so that we can get to the next step, right?
Yeah.
But we miss having a real pack of multiple shots of film.
Yeah, I call it unicorn tears because it's like every time you pull the strip, it's just like one less tear in the unicorn.
Oh man, that's funny.
Like, it's just a magical film though, and the process. Like, I really enjoy the process of shooting those pack film cameras and stuff. Like it's kind of it's a neat ritual when you're using those cameras, and people love the peel. Like that's always
The
a fun
peel's
one too.
great. There's something about having like this big like accordion camera
Yeah.
that feels it's like large format, but it's like a point and shoot.
But
almost.
easy. Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, like that. I recently picked up a 195 because
Yeah.
I'm planning a book project with the few packs of pack film I have left, and I'm going to be using the 195 on that. And yeah, it's just that there's
That was
something
our
cool
camera
about that
choice.
bellows. It's such a nice camera. Like
It's
it's so
beautiful.
great. Have you guys ever messed with any of the new 55 stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot actually.
yeah, stuff's
Nice.
great. I mean, it's hard to come by, and it's expensive. Um, but
Great.
and there was a scare when this looked like they were going to stop making it, but they're still making it. I think there's room for more of that stuff. Yes, there is a lot more room out there, especially as our community grows, and we need to keep talking about these smaller companies that don't have like the budgets to make something on a massive scale to make it $9 a pack, but
Yeah.
they're still making it. And like, yeah, sure, I'm not going to shoot 100 sheets of new 55 this year just because personally I can't afford to do that. But I'm going to shoot some, and I'm continuing to support them. And hopefully technology continues to grow, and they find ways to partner with other people to coat something, find ways to save money and make the product better. That's just how it's going to work because we're in each community now. And as long as we
Yeah.
continue to support the people who are pushing stuff, there's a lot of new stuff going to come out. I swear, like in the next 10 years, there's going to be a whole bunch of new films and formats and hopefully cameras too.
Hopefully, fingers crossed on the cameras thing.
My favorite cameras
Um,
will probably be the old ones just because I love old stuff. But but we need new ones too.
yeah, like I do like the old cameras. There's just something like that's what really drew me into film was the cameras, like that older gear. And also it's just like all this stuff that when I was younger, I sort of like lusted after. I'm like I could never afford that. And it's like now as an adult with money, I can.
Yeah.
So it's just like all these things that were unattainable when I was a kid. I can play around with them now, which is cool. I do have a question though. The new 55 thing, jarred it loose. If and when you guys do 4x5 in any of the film types, thoughts on making something that would be ready load or quick load compatible?
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have anything that's.
We don't have a plan.
I can't show you anything.
Yeah. But why not?
But I know how it works, and if we can work with new 55 or find a new process or a new way of manufacturing it so it's can become available, yeah, we're totally down. I love the ready shoot stuff, the quick load. I think is what Fuji called it, and then
Ready load.
Yeah, it was
Ready
ready
load
load for
for-
Kodak and quick load for Fuji, because it was like a joint project
They
between.
collaborated on designing it. Yeah.
we're gonna.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we're able to find a way to do that soon. And by soon,
Yeah.
I can't really put it. That's not a number. It's just as soon as it's possible. I would love that.
It's great for convenience, and it takes some of the intimidation of like having to always have a dark bag, film changing bag. So more people can get into shooting large format.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a need for it these days with the industry growing as it is. People learning, it's great, and then you can save some money if you want to load your film into holders, but it's going to be more expensive. Obviously, There's more. You're buying more things. It's assembled differently, but we would want that because that's what we're all about. We want to make it so that it's easy for people to shoot film in our film and shoot it in more situations and shoot more different types of film. So like, we want to do that for sure.
Nice. Well, I won't hold you guys to it, but it's good to know that could be another option out there. And like I know another guest that I had on here would be very stoked about some sort of ready load type coming back. He grilled some of the guys at Kodak when he was over there about why it doesn't exist, and I think Matt set him up with one of the engineers to explain why it died.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, it's not easy. We're not saying we can solve the world's problems, but we think the community of all analog manufacturing can probably figure it out.
Somebody.
Right? So I think that's going to be the future of film photography and analog filling this new demand that's going to only keep growing is hard because everything got scaled back so far during the digital revolution. And now there's a renaissance of film, and scaling it back up isn't easy. And so that has to be actually the first priority. And then secondly, as things scale up, maybe some things that weren't feasible will become feasible again. And again, like I said before, new ways of manufacturing can be innovated. New materials, new designs similar to or ways of designing, like with 3D printing. And we don't know what the next decade has in store. So you can't say nothing's never going to come back, especially when you have a growing demand for it. Mm-hmm. There's a good chance that actually what doesn't make sense today will make sense tomorrow. So, but they're not lying. Sometimes it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, some things, nothing lasts forever, but
Yeah.
It's nice to think about how awesome things were in the past. I guess with some of the film types that were out there and stuff like. But I mean, it's a nice privilege that we're still able to take advantage of film media today, both in like 35 mil and 120 and the large format and the instant formats that are still around in some ways.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun falling down into this rabbit hole of all this photography stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone else has had any other questions come up here, or is it? Alan says we can't keep pre-owned film cameras in
some
stock.
Great comments.
Doesn't matter what it is or how old. Our CL and M is off the shelf in no time. That doesn't surprise me.
Nope. That's the thing. That's where I think optimism is okay. I mean, we all got to be like realist. I mean, it is a fragile industry. Yeah. With the technology that if it goes away, it's hard to bring back. So we all need to be pulling together. Film is not dead, right? You know, like that's a long-lived film. We need to keep having that attitude as well. But also, we're great community people, and we're willing to put our money where our mouth is and support new ventures and new companies trying to revolutionize analog using new technologies to produce analog formats and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm very optimistic that this is just going to continue to grow, that the community is going to continue to grow, and the companies that are providing the things that we need to make our photography will stick around. Because it's passion now. I think there's so much passion, even in the manufacturing side, the companies that are still around. People are still employed by the big corporations, but the corporations may not be as passionate. The people there, though, are incredibly passionate still.
Totally.
Yeah, Brandy says stay broke, shoot film. And Barb here says, if Duran Duran can release new music in 2021, I think Kodak and Fuji can drop new emulsions. It's only fair.
Hey, you know what?
Kodak's been doing it.
Kodak has.
Yeah, Kodak has been fantastic, which, why I have mad love for Kodak. It's usually what's in the fridge. I've spent more money. Someone asked me once, it's like, how much money have you spent on film since you started shooting it a couple of years ago? And I started working it out in my head, and I was like, I don't want to play this game anymore. I don't like it.
How much money have you spent on fast food?
Yeah. How much
well, yeah, that's absolutely. That's a very fair question.
Let's not look at it.
Yeah, well, it's also interesting too, is just like, the sort of film versus digital argument that kind of goes out there. And it's like, I don't think one is necessarily better than the other personally, and I'm kind of curious on your guys' thoughts around this. Like, I think they're just all tools, and whichever tool works best for you is the tool you should run with.
One's better than the other in a given situation.
Yes, that
does happen. With a given goal.
Yeah.
But overall, it's all technology. It's all tools.
Yeah, and it depends how you use it as well. You may have to behave differently when you're trying to use a different tool, right? And some tools aren't right for certain jobs. But I would say that both digital and film are right for any job at this point. I think the digital revolution is over. It's here. It's finally good, because it wasn't for a long time.
Oh yeah, early 2000s.
Almost all my original complaints of why film is superior were not unfounded. It was superior for a very long time when digital became very popular, because they pushed the sales of a product that was subpar, because in order to get to their end goal, they had to move mass quantities, and then it got better, so it worked. But they kind of tricked a lot of people early on. Adopters of digital regretted it over and over again. They sold all their film gear, went digital, and then like within a certain amount of time, we're like, man, why'd I sell all the gear?
Yeah, like 2003, for example.
Yeah,
that's like the heyday of the digital revolution. If you go back and look at those images,
they're not as good.
They don't hold up.
They don't hold up.
But now,
film's timeless.
Now, yeah, I agree. It's just a different tool. There's benefits in different situations to each. But to me, as a photographer who does photography because of the creative aspect and the experience of shooting, and I feel like the images are actually, it's not just my experience either. It's the images are affected by how my experience is while shooting, and it changes my creative vision. I'm all about film still. I'll say film's superior all day long for me.
Yeah. I mean, is it,
and for a lot of people,
which is superior, doing an Instagram live or sitting down in person and chatting?
Well, sitting down in person and chatting, of course. Oh, there you go. You guys are back now.
Did we freeze?
It cut out for a second, didn't it?
Yeah, you cut out there. But I would agree, yeah, like, you know, the more superior thing would be sitting down in person and chatting over the Instagram live. But, you know, this is what we got today.
But look how many people can participate in this. We got 14 eyeballs up there or something, and there are lots of talking. Like, that wouldn't happen if it was contributing. So there's a benefit to both.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's one of the primary reasons why I've kept this format as an Instagram live is, well, one of them, I'm really lazy, and it's like nice to just push the button and it's live, and then, you know, we're talking to people and there's not a lot of extra work that has to be done there. But the biggest reason is having it being able to be interactive, where as I'm having this chat with people, other people can be like chiming in and asking questions, and you know, it's been fun having more accessibility to people in the community, because there's been a few times where I've felt like overwhelmed by this project and wanted to just like wind it down, and then I'll get like a message from someone that's like, hey, this is really cool that you're doing this, like, you know, I'm stuck in this like lockdown situation, COVID, and like it feels like I'm virtually meeting people, or, you know, I never thought I'd be able to ask that question to this person, but, you know, you did the live and I was able to, like, you know, interact with this person. So it was just kind of like, all right, well, this thing's sort of like more than just me now. So it's something I'm going to keep going on with as long as people want to be guests and people keep showing up.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. I love it. This is great for this, our little community, or just whoever wants to be involved. It's fun for us. I love how casual it is. I would encourage you to keep it up. I mean, our friends jump in. We get to give them a hard time. They give us a hard time back. It's not like a official recorded interview in front of a microphone. It's its own format, and I think it's cool that we're using it. Technology is not a bad thing.
No, it's not terrible. Like, I mean, it can be. It all sort of depends on what you do with it. Like, I work with technology in my day job, and yeah, it can be kind of weird sometimes, but it's nice how it does connect us more. Like, it was interesting seeing how, because like last year we did the Policon 5 as a virtual event.
Cool.
Which was interesting because a lot of people are sort of like worried about like how Policon would work as a virtual event, but the event organizers, Daniel and Andy and the team down there, and Armand at the Camera Exchange, did a great job facilitating it, and it was really interesting the feedback that they got of people from all around the world that had heard of Policon, had always wanted to go but couldn't get to Texas. So they're like, this is so rad that now it's a virtual event, because like I've heard about this for a couple of years and like I've always wanted to go, and now I can kind of attend. So it was neat to see. Like, it was sad that we couldn't go see all of our friends that we'd get to see every year at the Policon events, but it was also neat to like meet new people and virtually see new faces and have this world that we loved so much open up to a broader scope of people.
That's cool.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah,
cool.
It was really wild. Well, I appreciate you guys hopping on the chat with me here.
It's been
It
a good,
was
nice,
awesome.
long, rolling conversation. I like it. It's been fun.
Where is it? Yeah, Brandy says here they're going to keep moving forward with a hybrid format. So yeah, I believe this year's Policon is also still going to be like part in person and part virtual as well too. But I can't wait for the border to open up so that Phil and the team at the dark room can put together another film padea.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Next one's gonna be even better.
Yeah, hopefully everyone will be super stoked because it'd been like, geez, like what, almost 3 years since the last one now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're ready.
coming up on it. Definitely. Well,
Definitely
thank
ready
you
for
so much, guys, for joining me this week and everyone for tuning in. I
Thanks
really
for hosting.
appreciate you. Of course, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you guys popping on. And next week, I'm going to have Conspiracy of Cartographers on to chat about his work. So
Awesome.
looking forward to that.
All right.
Cool, guys.
See you
Well,
guys
have a
later.
great weekend and everyone stay safe out there.
Yeah, everyone stay safe. It's good I'm glad you all joined in and all the good questions and comments. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.